Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tao, and I'm really excited today. As many of you know, I practice dentistry Mondays and Tuesdays. I travel the U.S., pre-COVID, and now that the world has opened up after COVID, I travel the U.S. and I get to meet a lot of interesting people. I'm actually in a group called the Speakers Consulting Network, and I meet a lot of people like myself who are dentists and even just consultants. But I met a dentist a number of years ago. He impressed me with the way he goes about life in general and the fact that he was a practicing dentist at one point, and now he helps dentists out there. And I wanted to bring him on today to kind of introduce himself to those that don't know who he is. I know we have a lot of listeners out there that like to be introduced to dentists who can help them. And I felt this guy, I heard him speak. He was a speaker who was really, really impressed me, and I wanted him to really tell his story to the listeners out there and viewers, as this is being video recorded on YouTube as well. So please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Dr. Robert McGuire. Do you prefer to be called Bob, or how do you want to be? I like Len, so that's easy.
You can call me Rob.
Rob, okay. All right, Rob. So please welcome Rob to the Raving Patients Podcast.
Thanks, Len. Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be part of this. And at this point, you want me to just tell my story? Is that what
yeah, well, so basically, I'm glad we finally made this happen. Unfortunately, the first time we had scheduled this was soon after SCN, and my dad had passed away, so we had to reschedule this a number of times. So life got in the way, as I like to say. But we finally are doing this. We're finally recording this. So to begin with, why don't you kind of tell your story, tell people about your life, how you got into consulting, coaching, a little bit about your dental background, but tell people who you are and what you're about.
Hey, thanks so much, Len. So I'm Rob McGuire. I'm a graduate of Georgetown University School of Dentistry. I practiced 28 years as a solo practitioner in a small town in New Hampshire called Wolfboro, New Hampshire, population 6,000. Prior to that, I had 3 years in the Navy. I was stationed at Parris Island, South Carolina. 50 dentists, lots of patients. Can you imagine 50 drills going at the same time? My goodness, it was a symphony. So I did that for 3 years, and then I worked as an associate for another dentist in Nashua, New Hampshire, and then I purchased my practice in 1990. I purchased a single column, very busy, single tooth, what I called a hamster wheel practice. And I knew that if I didn't change things, I was going to die an early death. I didn't feel like a dentist, Len. I felt like a firefighter because I was always putting out fires. So I was searching for the missing link to help me get more satisfaction out of my work. I was going home at the end of the day totally wiped out. Imagine seeing 18, 20 patients a day. It was exhausting. So I cried for help. I got a mentor, someone who helped me out, and I learned at that point that it was the people part of things that was missing. I had taken continuing education courses on how to schedule better and work more efficiently, and I was still putting out fires. It was less chaotic. It still wasn't where I wanted to be. And then my mentor suggested that I take courses at places like the Pankey Institute or the Dawson Institute. And that's where I really learned that communication was, for me, the missing link. And once I started focusing on the people, got my head out of the numbers and the dentistry, I was taking every continuing education course under the sun as far as trying to perfect my hands. But I didn't have it right here. And I didn't have it here in my heart. Well, once I got that squared away, Len, my practice just took off. And I like to say, instead of me chasing it, it chased me. And so for me, it was the communication piece that was the missing link. And during my years of private practice in 2008, I got a master's degree from Seton Hall in strategic communication and leadership, with the idea that once I retired, that I would go out and spread the word to dentists who may have had the right intentions, but didn't know how to communicate effectively. So that is my story. And I retired in 2018, and now I spend my time helping dentists and their practices develop their communication, develop their mission, vision, and values to help them get on the road to, as I say, more joy, more fulfillment, and more financial success. And that's what I do. I just spoke at the ADA President-Elect's Conference, and the topic was making membership contagious. And it was all about the people skills that we need to help our patients and help other individuals. So that's a bit about me.
It's really interesting you said that. So, and I don't know how much you know about my background. I bought a practice in 2017, and the listeners know this story, from a dentist who committed suicide. 2007, sorry, from a dentist who committed suicide. And I had really great hands. I was a really good dentist. I thought I had really good communication skills, but I hired a coach at the time because I had to really help me communicate with my team. And it turns out I was a really lousy communicator. It started because I was a lousy listener. I was a terrible listener. I was not the only person that I listened to was probably myself. But I took listening classes, and I became a really good communicator because I started to listen to what people were actually saying. So I consider myself a really good communicator now because I listen to patients. And so I think communication is the key. And I think you hit the nail on the head that your practice really takes off when you can communicate with patients the appropriate way. So I give you kudos for really recognizing that and really spreading the word about how important communication is to really grow your practice.
It's that heart-to-heart connection, Len. And here's the deal. As dentists, we're left-brained, right? We like margins. We like to make those preps really nice. We like precision and getting that bite just right. Well, the communication aspect of things, it's in our right brain. It's in our hearts. And here's the interesting thing that happened. I would go in and do a summary of findings. It was a case presentation. And prior to that, I'd have my models all polished up, and I would have everything planned out I was going to say, and I would ad nauseum give all sorts of details about this. Well, it was a focus on the presentation. And oftentimes my treatment recommendations were coming up flat. Well, once I got my focus on really connecting with the person and catering my message to meet their needs, my case acceptance went off the charts. In fact, towards the end, right when I retired, it was almost 100%. And again, it was getting the focus off what I was doing and focusing on the people and meeting their needs. That was, for me, the silver bullet, the magic that made it happen. And you were right.
I think that's really, really good. I think it's really great. And I think the listeners and the viewers should really, I have a lot of people who are new in practice, and I have a lot of older dentists as well. But the people who are new, I think, really need to listen to that. That, if you may have a great practice, case acceptance is super important to growing your practice, but you need to pause for a moment and understand that, the key to really taking your practice to the next level, I think, is the communication in your practice, and communicating with your team members, communicating with the patients, communicating with the lab, communicating with the vendors. I think the communication will really take your practice to the next level if you can learn to do that.
Yeah, and you know what else is a big communication piece? Is communicating with ourselves. How about that one? We all tell ourselves stories. Well, what are you telling yourself? Are you going in there and saying, oh, this patient isn't going to accept everything I have to offer? Or are you going to go in there and say, hey, I'm going to go in here and help my patient to the best of my ability, and whatever happens, happens. Just you release yourself from a result that you are hoping for, and just be your authentic self and connect with people. Now, that's not to say, excellence has got to be at the forefront of what we do. Ethics has to be at the forefront of what we do. But it's that ability to connect, and not only with our patients, but with our team, but that self-talk. Len, in my early days, man, I was a negative Nelly. The stuff I was telling myself was like, well, why don't you just go shoot yourself in the foot? I mean, and then once I, like you, got coaching and counsel and worked with a mentor, getting the communication in your head right helps you then communicate with your patients and your team. So that was an eye opener in my early days. I thought just getting the margins right and just being the best dentist you could be and taking every CE under the sun, it would, well, no, it was that connecting with people, that heart to heart that really, for me, was the magic.
You talked about, or you mentioned a word that I think is very common in dental terms for dentists, actually, the hamster wheel. We feel like we're in a hamster wheel in the office. We're constantly running around. We're constantly doing things. We're constantly on the run in the office. We don't have breaks. We're not taking lunch breaks. We're working all day long. So how did you recognize this? How did you get off the hamster wheel, is a term I like to use? How did you? I know you said you took classes at Pankey and all these other centers, but how did you get off this hamster wheel and change the way you practice dentistry?
It took a lot of courage. Early on, new patients were coming into my practice through the hygiene department. And so the first courageous move I made was, I'm going to see all new patients first. And for me, that's what turned it around. I wasn't spending any time with my patients, Len. They'd come in through the hygiene department, and in an hour they'd have if it was appropriate, their full mouth series, and I'd come in and do a quick 5-minute. There was no conversation ahead of time. So that new patient examination with me first was what changed the whole practice. And once I did that, I was busy and I was making money in the old way. But then when I discovered this, I was happier. I was feeling filled. I was feeling like I was making a difference in my patients' lives. And the money, it followed it. But I wasn't, as I said earlier, I wasn't chasing the money. I was chasing giving my patients the very best and communicating them to the best of my ability so that I love this expression Peter Dawson used to say, help your patients see what you're seeing. There's another one that helped turn it around for me. But the big thing was that new patient examination. My staff first went, you're going to spend how much time with them? What's that going to do to our production? See, I had them all brainwashed that we've got these production goals. That's what we're gearing it for. Well, we took the plunge. I said, please just trust me. Let's do this. We can always go back to the old way. We never went back.
Interesting. So I actually I take things to the next level. So I don't see every new patient. I still send some patients through hygiene. But what I do is I actually speak to them before they come in the office. So I call them, I introduce myself. I call them on the weekends. I call them after hours because I don't want them waiting till the next business day to get a call from us. So as soon if it's Wednesday evening or Saturday and they call the office wanting to make an appointment, or they engage with one of the various ways we have online to reach out to the office, I call them back as soon as I get the message. And I, engage them, find out what they want to come in for. I talk to them on the phone. It impresses the hell out of them. And I get some very key information out of them is what they're looking to do, why they want to come into the office. But I call it basically relaxes them when they first come in the office. It gets them very accustomed to knowing who I am and how I interact with them. And many times they're already sold before they come in the office. So since I started doing this a number of years ago, my numbers have been off the charts when it comes to new patient conversion. My case acceptance rate's off the chart. So I took what you did and I took it to the next level. So I really appreciate hearing what you did when you did it way back then. So,
And when you call them that night before, they're like surprised.
that's why they said, I can't believe the
The,
dentist
the
called me.
doctor's actually calling me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Why? Because we care.
Yep.
And that's huge these days. There is a market for caring for people.
Exactly.
So often in the physician's office, I mean, they're just under so much pressure with all the insurance stuff. But I mean, they're talking to the laptop.
Yep.
They're not talking to you. They're talking to the laptop.
And what are patients mostly concerned about when they come into a dental office?
Yeah, they want to know that it's trust. It's that trust, and that you're going to give them the very best care and give them what they need, help them get what they need.
And they're also concerned with money as well.
And money. That's a huge.
The money issue is huge. So I'm always discussing that on the call with them, letting them know that we can make payments affordable for them if we need to be. So I get that right off the bat, because most people are concerned that how am I going to go in and get this work done? How do I know I can afford it? And I discuss that with them right off the bat. Don't worry about the finances. We'll figure it out. We have third-party companies that can lend you as low as a 500 credit score. We can spread payments out as much as 60 months or no interest up to 24 months. They relax big time once they hear that.
They do.
So that's what I like to cover with them. So like I said, I spend time with them when they're in the office, but I also talk to them on the phone before they come in. So like I said, I've taken things to the next level more than you have. So I give you credit for doing that. That's very different than the average dentist did. Because again, they're so focused on doing the actual dentistry, bringing in the numbers right away, than spending the time needed. They're looking at the small thing, not at the big picture.
Yes, but it's our thought process, isn't it?
Correct.
It's those stories we tell ourselves. It could be, oh, I don't have time to do that. It's rewriting the scripts that allow you to then go forward. But understanding that you have the power right up here to do that. And it was bringing someone into my life that helped me see that other perspective. Isn't it true, Len? Sometimes we can be self-blind.
Always.
And that's where coaches come in and they say, hey, can I speak the truth to you? Can I tell you something that you need to hear that you might not want to hear? And there's that permission statement. Wow, wasn't that a powerful thing with our patients? Mr. Jones, I have a lot of information to share with you today. Would you like me to give you the details, or would you just like the bottom line? And they'll let you know. And then it's also an honest thing, Len, to say, hey, I'm concerned about overwhelming you. How would you like to receive the information that I need to share with you today? It's just you being honest. You're being authentic. You're focusing. It's just, that's it.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention that the title of the podcast is called Building Your Practice Using Your Hands, Your Head, and Your Heart. And that's something I usually mention at the beginning. So what does it mean to do that by the hands, the head, and the heart?
Basically, the hands, the head, and the heart. Well, the hands, we're dentists, and we're working with our hands. Dentistry is our craft. It's a skill. So using our hands means doing the best we can every day with what we have. That's the hands aspect of it. The head aspect is the management part of things. It's how are you scheduling your day? How are you managing your team? Are you having morning huddles? Are you having weekly team meetings? Are you managing your accounts receivable? How much insurance are you taking in? Are you utilizing PPOs? That's all those management decisions. And then the heart is what we talked about. That's the communication piece. How are you building your team? How are you nurturing them? Are you seeking information from them? Are you asking them for their insights? Team building, connecting with patients, rapport, all of those things. So that's the three aspects. I give a course called the economics of great communication. And I love to do this at the beginning. I have a yellow sheet with markers, and I make 3 columns, and I ask the audience, I say, tell me about the last CE course you took. And so they might say implants or CERAC or periosurgery or laser, all clinical stuff. That tends to be the first column. The second column might be, I took a practice management course on reducing broken appointments. So the 3 columns are the hands, the head, and the heart. The hands column, there's like a long list. The head column, there might be a few. Guess how many are showing up in the third column on communication?
0.
Goose egg. And yet it should be the reverse. We're in the people business. We treat people. I love what Dr. Pankey said. He said, I never met a tooth that walked through the door of my office. It's a person. And that's not to say that struggling with communication is, it's not a problem that everybody faces with, that they deal with. But I think that it's pretty prominent. I know that the intentions are good. Down here, it's just getting it out of here that allows you to then do what you do to an excellent level. That's the hands, the head, and the heart.
So a dentist is listening to this. They say, this makes sense. They say, I want to try to kind of implement this. So what are some steps that a dentist can take to implement this philosophy that you're talking about here?
Well, I think the first thing is to take a look at yourself. Self-awareness is really the key to all of this taking place. Self-awareness. And then the second thing, Len, is figuring out what you want. That's the big thing. Like we would do with our new patients. How can I help you? What brings you in today? We all have to know what it is we're looking for. So self-awareness of who you are, and then figuring out what type of practice do I want to have? How do I want to practice? How am I practicing now? It's basically, you mentioned this earlier, Len, it's asking questions. It's listening. Those type of things. So if you ask me, I would say figure out who you are and what you want to do. It's your purpose, your vision, and what's most important to you. So it's a self-awareness, time of self-reflection. Because you got to know where you're going. What is it? Is it the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland said? If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Well, you got to know where you want to go. Because if you don't, you're going to go all over the place. You're going to drive yourself crazy, and you're going to drive your staff crazy, your team crazy, because you have no direction. Well, set that course ahead of time. It's like setting your GPS on a road. Do that first, and then once you have an idea of where you want to go, then you can plan your course. Then you can chart your course. And there are people who can help you sort out all of that. I love the golden circle that Simon Sinek shows in his book, Start With Why. And it's about the 3 questions, the what, the how, and the why. And I think if you go through an exercise like that, that helps you sort out, well, what is it that I want to do? You might not know how you want to do it, but the most important question is, why do I want to do it? And a simple question and a simple phrase you can use is, as relating to your team, Len, is just answer this question that says, we are here to, and then fill in the blank. We as a group of professionals in the dental profession are here to, and then fill in the blank. So it's figuring out, first step, self-awareness. Second step, figure out where you want to go.
Gotcha. So where do you see somebody, how does someone recognize that they need to take a different approach to their practice? Like, what are the benefits they're going to see? Obviously, you would assume they're going to make more money or they're going to have a higher production. But someone's listening to this, they say, I'm stuck in this hamster wheel. I want to change what I'm doing. But, other than an increase in production or an increase in collections, making more money, I'm assuming they're going to live a happier life. But what are some of the benefits to changing the way they're going to be doing things in their office?
Well, I think the first thing they have to ask themselves, Len, is, are they happy? Are you happy? Maybe a dentist is happy, but if you're not happy, then you say, well, what is it that's causing this discomfort inside of me? Is it the fact that I'm not able to spend adequate amount of time with patients because I feel I gotta go? Is it because I have to work at a crazy pace because I have all these PPO plans and I'm getting paid a little? Is it because I have a team member that isn't in line, that their values aren't in line with my values? There's a lot of soul searching, but I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, am I happy? When I leave the office at the end of the day, am I feeling fulfilled? And here's the other thing, it's how do you define success? And it's different for every person. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely, 100% so.
It's different. And once you get this communication, once you figure out why you're doing what you're doing, not only will you be successful, but you will feel like that you're making a difference in other people's lives. And that's the significance piece. I was making money in my early days, but I wasn't feeling significant. I was feeling wiped out. Well, at the end of the day, you got enough left for your family. My kids used to say early on, Len, yep, his lights are on, but nobody's home. I was toast. Well, after a couple of years of working with a mentor and a consultant, things got better. All of a sudden, I had energy left at the end of the day. And I wasn't working. Early on, I was working all these hours. I felt like I had to work 12-hour days. Well, where'd that thought process come from? It's really getting your thinking straight first that helps chart your course towards happiness and success.
So you mentioned a couple.
First.
You mentioned a couple things. You mentioned, about PPO insurance. You mentioned about, a team member or staff member not, pulling their weight. So I want to delve into those couple things a little bit. So someone taking PPO insurance is obviously not all insurances are made equal. Some are better than others. So if you're working with a client and you're talking about PPO insurance? I'm a fee-for-service practice, so that's why I'm asking these questions. I have my own thoughts on this. What do you recommend to a client of yours if they're saying, these insurances, the reimbursement's crappy? I don't necessarily want to drop the insurance because I care about the patients. What is your recommendation?
I think they have to sort it out individually. I like to get a grasp of how much of the pot is that you have to be realistic about. You just can't totally cut it out. But I think you have to think about, why do I want to eliminate this? And then the second thing is, then you have to come up with verbiage to tell the patients why you no longer can participate with this. Caveat that it's got to be with the focus on them. It's not about the practice making more money. It's about, I need to be able to devote more time for you in order to provide you the highest level of care. You make it about them. And so analyzing how much of the insurance you are accepting at this point, and then having a plan, not only an exit strategy, but also having the verbal skills lined up ahead of time. Not only you, but for your entire team, because they're going to have to spread the message as well. But if it's about quality, if it's about excellence, and the last thing you want to do, Len, you don't want to slam the insurance company. You don't want to slam them, because that's something that is meaningful to the patients. So you would use words of encouragement like, we're going to do everything we can to help you maximize your benefits in the midst of this. And it's different for all plans are so different.
Gotcha. So now this day and age, one of the struggles that offices are having is that they're struggling with team members, even hiring team members. So replacing a team member is very difficult right now. My practice itself, we've been short a team member since like August of last year. It's nearly impossible to find somebody to replace them. But what are you saying to when they have a team member who's not, pulling their weight or, is bringing the rest of the team down? How are you telling them to handle that in their practice?
Well, first of all, you have to have a conversation. Again, this is where having clarity about who you are and how you want to practice is sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation with them. I know I can't speak for a lot of dentists, but that confrontation part of things is often something that I think is avoided, but yet it's necessary. So sitting down with them and saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm looking for. There's a book called Nonviolent Communication, which I love this book because it offers a 4-step system. It's observations, feelings, needs, and requests. I call it OFNER. Observations, feelings, needs, and requests. And you just sit down with a person and you tell them what you're observing. You tell them the feelings that it's generating inside of you. You tell them what you need, and then you ask them. You say, are you going to be able to meet this need? I think you're going to be able to do that. You want to try to keep them if you can, but you want to make clear on what your expectations are. And you also want to leave them saying that you are confident that they'll be able to step up to the plate. And they might say at that point, you know what, I'm out. But oftentimes I find that simple redirection helps people get on a better path. And of course it's situational, Len, but I think having those heart-to-heart, honest conversations are the way to go. And offer them the opportunity to succeed. And if they don't, and I mean, sometimes don't we know? We just know that it's not a fit. And so it's a choice. Do I work shorthanded or do I work in misery? You have to choose.
Gotcha. So I told you that I like doing these would you rather questions, but before we go into those questions, and I don't want you to, close yet, but is there any other topics that you wanted to cover before we go into the would you rather sections?
Just briefly, Len, one of the game changers for me in my practice as far as the communication piece was the DISC personality assessment. I was a driver. Boom, boom, boom. I was also an analytic. Well, I still am. You don't change. Giving people lots of details. The DISC personality helped me understand that if I'm going to connect with other people, I've got to modify my spots. So in other words, if I'm with someone, I tend to talk fast. If I'm with someone who speaks more slowly, I need to speak more slowly. So I won't go into the details of it. There's that analytic part of me wanting to give you the whole ad nauseum explanation of DISC. But I would look into the DISC as a way to help you better understand not only your team members, but also to help you better connect and recognize the needs of your patients. So the DISC personality assessment I found to be a very valuable piece. And I first took it years ago with Walter Haley in dental boot camp out in Kerrville, Texas. That's where I was first exposed to the DISC. And that was, when I look at game changers in my practice and in my life, the DISC was a big part of that.
Gotcha. I think that's great. And a DISC is, for those that don't know what that is, I'm sure they can read it about it online because there's a lot of great information you can get from a DISC assessment. So there's other personality.
I'm a DISC certified trainer too. So
there you go.
It's something that I'm pretty passionate about.
That's great. So I'm going to transition to these, for those that have not listened to a podcast before. I love these would you rather questions. I think they really make a person think about how they want to answer these. I asked 10 questions. They're not inappropriate in any way. So I'm going to go through these. Just think about how you want to answer it and just say which answer and why. So would you rather write and have a best-selling book published or star in a hit blockbuster movie?
I would rather write and have a blockbuster book, not be in a movie.
Okay. Would you rather eat fruit roll-ups or gummy bears?
Oh, gummy bears all the way. Fruit roll-ups, you're gonna tear those things off. Gummy bears, you just pop them in, man.
I'm a gummy bear.
Question.
I love gummy bears too. So,
yeah.
All right. Here's a weird one. Would you rather have eyes like a frog or a tongue like a snake?
Probably a tongue like a snake. Figuring the bigger tongue you have, the more taste you have, and I like food, so I would definitely have to go with the tongue.
All right. Would you rather have to tell bad knock-knock jokes to everyone you meet or talk about yourself in the third person all the time?
Oh, bad knock-knock jokes all the way. All the way. To talk about myself, not in my wheelhouse.
Would you rather have more time to write or more time to read?
More time to read, by far. Sometimes I find my days so busy that if I do have a moment, I'm in a book. And just along that line, I still like books rather than reading off of my iPad.
This one's funny. Would you rather have your home be in wall-to-wall mirrors or glow-in-the-dark paint?
Well, as I'm getting older and my eyesight isn't like it used to be, probably glow-in-the-dark paint would help me get around better as I get up in the middle of the night to have to use the bathroom.
So this one has a little dental connotation to it. I think it's odd that they would ask this. Would you rather give up coffee for a year or go without brushing your teeth for a year?
Oh, that's a hard one because I love to brush my teeth and I love coffee. I'd have to give up coffee because just the thought of
that's disgusting.
The fungus among us? Yeah, no way.
Terrible. Let's see that. I don't like that one. Okay. Would you rather never have to shave again or never have to style your hair again?
Well, I don't really have much hair, so I'm thinking style your hair would be all right.
Okay.
Like right now, I haven't shaved in a couple of days, but after about 4 or 5, I'm ready. So it would definitely be the hair.
All right. I don't know if you're you like thrill rides?
I do.
Okay. Would you rather ride the scariest roller coaster in the world or bungee jump off the tallest bridge in the world?
Oh, roller coaster by far.
Okay.
Just the thought of jumping off a bridge. I
Okay.
think of the Brooklyn Bridge. No way.
All right. Would you rather go back 5 years or skip ahead 5 years in your life?
Oh, go back 5 years. as
Okay.
I'm getting older.
All right. And then this one I ask everybody, this is not on this list, but it's another deck I have. Would you rather give up search engines, or would you rather give up all your apps on your phone? It's a hard one.
I think I'd give up the apps on my phone. I be able to search and get answers right away. I would gravitate towards that.
Yeah, I couldn't give up my search engines, so.
No.
Well, thank you for being willing to play the Would You Rather challenge. I appreciate it.
I love that. Thank you.
Sure. So why don't you tell people how they can contact you, how they can reach out for more information. If you have something you want to offer them, please offer it to them now, and tell them how they can reach out to you.
Great. I have a website, and the website address is thefulfillment.coach. And if you go there, it's loaded with information. My email address is contact@thefulfillment.coach. And if you reach out to me, I'd be happy to send you. It's a one-pager on step-by-step on how you can get a communication program started in your practice. I also offer a 30-minute free consultation for those who are inquiring about working with me. And as I said, my website is loaded with stuff. I have lots of articles that I've published that you might find helpful on all types of communication topics. And so that's how you can reach out to me. Contact@thefulfillment.coach.
Should they mention they heard you on the Raving Patients podcast?
That would be great.
Okay.
That you had heard me on.
So just make sure, guys,
Patients.
you mention you heard him on this podcast so he knows that that's how you heard about him, and he'll be able to give you his one pager called What's Next for Your Practice, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Anything else you want to mention before we sign off?
Just for those of you listening, we work hard at getting our hands right, and we work hard at managing our practices to the best of our ability. But it's the heart that'll really make your practice sing, because you'll be not only in sync with your desires and your goals and your dreams, but when you're communicating well, you're going to be able to bring your team along with you. And it's that team effort that is going to bring your practice to the next level. If I can help you out in any way, contact@thefulfillment.coach.
Well, Rob, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it. I think you shared some great information for the listeners and the viewers. So I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your passion. And it was great to connect with you, obviously, other than the Speaker Consulting Network. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it. Please let your colleagues know about it. Please share Rob's information with them, because I know that he definitely has a passion and can help you as well. Like the episode, subscribe to the episode, promote the episode, because I don't do it as much as I should. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for hopefully enjoying these episodes. They come out, remember, Fridays at 1 p.m. They're released every Friday, 1 p.m. A new one will be uploaded to your phone if you subscribe to that. So make sure you do that. And as I always like to end these episodes, we didn't talk about reputation, but it's my sign off. Remember, your reputation matters. Until the next episode, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.